Hey guys, welcome back to the farm. I know I got some new viewers this week coming over from another channel. I appreciate you guys coming along this week. Just give you a brief rundown. I bought this farm about 4.5 years ago. I'm not from a farming life. I'm not from a farming community. I'm from the city. Grew up in a neighborhood. And I'm retired military, and after I retired from the military, I wanted a farm. So I bought 3.5 acres, and that was in the city. It was a piece of abandoned property, and I bought it, and a lady wanted to buy it, and she bought it, and it was worth enough money for me to buy this 25-acre parcel out here. It was just an overgrown piece of property. I've turned it into what it is now. This is my new bathhouse that's coming along. I've got my barn and my hay shelter and my shop over there. I've got hay fields back here in the back. But I picked up 2 Belgian colts, and I'm going to show you those guys. But if you know, I've got Percherons, and if you don't know, I've got Percherons and I drive them. And I've got 3 that I've been temporarily boarding here for the last 4 months, while the owner was up north in Vermont at the horse shows, showing his stallions and his 2-year-old colts and all that. So they've been here for 4 months, and they are really, really nice horses, but they don't get along with each other, and they don't get along with mine. So I'm ready for them to go. They're great individually, but when they get in close quarters, they bite and they kick, and they think that my 2 are coming over to join their herd or run them off of their herd or whatever. So they've been here, and my girls have gotten bit and picked on and all kinds of stuff for the last 4 months. So they won't let them under the hay shelter, the shade shelter, which doubles as a hay shelter in the winter. They run them off the water when they're on the water. We're getting real close to having to put hay out, and I don't want them to be running my girls off the hay. I want them on the hay. And they're dang sure gonna pick on the new colts when they have the opportunity. So their dad is literally just now pulling in. He is right behind the camera, turning this trailer around. And we are gonna load up his 3, Posey, Felicity, and Destiny. And they're all on previous videos if you wanna go back and watch them on previous videos. Absolutely beautiful black Percherons. They've all been in cart class, but he's all into the showing and trying to get points and put his farm on the map with his bloodlines and his stallion and all that. And I'm not, I'm just a pleasure driver. I started this channel just for prosperity, so that you could go back and look at it. The grandkids could go back and look at it. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. And you know, you don't have your first memories till you're about 4 years old. And so if the grandkids don't ever remember their grandfather, then they can go back and look at the videos, and they know when I built the barn, and they know when I put in the windmill, and when I built the fences, when I put in the shop, when I built the bathhouse. And they can say stuff like, wow, Dad, I didn't realize that jacket was Grandpa's. I always thought that was yours. And my son says, well, buddy, it was, but before that it was your grandfather's. And well, I see where I get my laugh now. I see where I get my smile. I see where I get my, my accent. And so I kind of did it from a prosperity. And what I did is I was just doing it to document it. But then people started living vicariously through my videos and saying, man, I wish I had the property. I wish I could do what you're doing, kind of deal. And then the mules were here, and then the mules left because I wanted to drive. I talked about that in the last video. And now I've got 2 Percherons. I had 4, and I sold a team to a friend up in Ellijay, Georgia, up in North Georgia, about 2 hours from here. And so now I've got these colts, and a lot of you have seen them on Bowie Livestock from previous videos that were posted last week. But we'll get into those real soon. But let's go get these 3, Posey, Felicity, and Destiny, get them loaded up and get them out of here.
I had it on and she was hooked, but she broke it. Whoa, back, 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 back up, back up, back up. Good girl. Step up, step up. Yeah, that's what tightened it the last time. Go ahead. Now she won't back down there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is that the buckle I wanted to put on.
Headed home. All right, so those girls are gone finally, and my girls are finally going to be able to relax. If you haven't met them yet, this is Jean and Grace behind me. I got them from a buddy of mine up in South Dakota, and they are 3.5 years old now. And I purchased them from him when they were about 2 weeks old, but I didn't get them until they were weaned at 5 months old. But they are the sweetest babies. I still call them my babies because they're just big old puppy dogs. So this is Jean right here, and this is Gracie. Hey, and I don't have a peppermint, silly. Thinks I got a peppermint. I don't have a peppermint. But they are sweet, and they are trained to drive, and we drive them around, and you'll be seeing that. But I haven't been driving them a whole lot because they're so nervous when those other girls are around. They're constantly looking over their shoulder. So once they realize those girls are gone and they're not coming back, they're going to calm back down, and we're going to get back to the normal routine around here. But these girls are both registered, and they are about 17.1, 17.2 tall. They've still got another couple 100 pounds to put on, but they're a nice size. But let's go see the new additions to the farm, the 2 Belgian colts. So here they are, the new Belgian colts. Like I said, a lot of you guys have seen them on Fletcher Farms, and these were not a direct reflection of that video. I had already purchased these foals prior to that video that got so much publicity and people wanting to go out and save the horses and all that kind of stuff. I had already purchased them, and I wanted to get these 2 because they were both marked about the same. They were both more blonde than the others. The others were more sorrel, and these were the 2 blondest ones, so I wanted these. This is Titus over here on the right, and then this is Max over here on the left. Maximus, short for Max, and then Titus. And Max came from Montgomery, Indiana. Daniel Yoder was the Amishman that foaled him. And then Rick Wagler foaled Maximus here, and he was out of, I think it's called Lagouti, Indiana. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correct. But these horses were not thrown away by the Amish to the kill pen, contrary to what you've been led to believe. These horses were bought to be resold by Bowie Livestock. This horse, Titus, he brought $1,200 at the auction. Maximus brought $1,100 at the auction. 2 totally different breeders. He picked up a cough being over there at that buoy with all those other horses. We're gonna have to address that. But they were bought to be resold. They were not bought to be put into the slaughter pipeline. Bowie does some clever marketing, and they kind of lead you to believe that they're in the slaughter pipeline when they're not. And then when people post YouTube videos, they use the words save, rescue, bail money, when it's really not the case. These horses, when you go on O'Dwyer Horses, which is under Bowie Livestock, O'Dwyer is the name of the family that owns it, there's a buy it now banner. And when you click on buy it now, the horse disappears once you buy it. It doesn't say bail it out now, it says buy it now. So you won't hear me say the word rescue or saved or bail. You'll hear me say I purchased these horses, which is exactly what I did. The majority of the horses on O'Dwyer Horses are horses that have been bought to be resold. They have brokers or agents that work through Bowie that purchase horses for Bowie, and then they bring them down there. And the more horses they bring them, the more money they make as a broker or an agent. Are they kill buyers, and do they export to Mexico? Absolutely 100% they do. You can either agree with it or disagree with it or condemn them or condone them, but there is a need for horses to go to slaughter because in other parts of the world, they eat them or they use them for some sort of other product that I'm unaware of. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. But there is a need for it. And that is part of Bowie's business model, is to buy horses for export. The majority of those horses, you never see them because they're in the back. They never get put on O'Dwyer's website to be sold. The horses that do get put on there to be sold, the majority of them were bought to be resold. And they never say in their videos that these are kill pen horses. They never use that word. What they say is, this horse is available. If transport's needed, we'll drop off on the I-40 out to Sacramento, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. If you need transport, we can surely help you. He says something along those lines. He never says this horse has got a kill date of next Tuesday or whatever. But in their description, they put slaughter date and they put a date out there. Do we know what that is? We don't know. We don't know why they put that on there because we never asked. We just assume we see slaughter date, and then all of a sudden, it starts getting passed around on Facebook and on YouTube. Hey, this horse has got a slaughter date. We need to save it. I need money. Send me money. Let's save these horses. But they're not going to spend $1,100 on this horse and $1,200 on this horse to send them to slaughter because they're going to lose their butt. When I was there, I bought several horses from O'Dwyer, from Bowie. And if you talk to them from a realistic standpoint and not a sympathetic standpoint, they'll talk to you. But if you're going to go in there and talk with them from a sympathetic standpoint and say, I can't believe you guys do this, that mare was pregnant and all this kind of stuff, they're not going to talk to you because you've already convicted them. Okay, but if you sit down with the owners, I didn't physically sit down with them, but talked over the tailgate of the truck, and asked them, what do you guys do? But sadly, there is a demand for horses be sent to slaughter. And that is just a reality that there's nothing that you and I can do about that. I know that there's people that fight it all day long, but Mexico allows it and Canada allows it. And I don't even know where they consume horse meat, but there are other parts of the world where they do. I think Japan is one. I'm sure there's parts of South America. Again, I don't agree with it one bit. But O'Dwyer's business model, buying slaughter horses is part of it. O'Dwyer Horses is part of their business model, and the monthly consignment sale that they hold there is part of their business model. They're in business to move horses through there. So when I was there, I just said, can I ask you some honest questions? And when they realized that I was being sincere and I was being respectful of their business, they, opened up to me, because they don't advertise that they're kill buyers. And again, they don't go on YouTube and defend themselves and say, hey, so-and-so posted a video and they said this about us and we just want to defend ourselves. The reason they don't do that is because that generates sales, because that pulled on somebody's heartstring that they put slaughter date of this, and that pulls on somebody's heartstrings. And then they post it on YouTube, or they post it on Facebook Marketplace, and then it goes viral. It doesn't go viral, but it goes through the community, and it's like, somebody please save these horses. That horse is pregnant. That horse has got a foal. That horse is only 4 months old. O'Dwyer doesn't say anything about it because it's generating all those sales. So again, we don't know why they put that slaughter date on there. Is it for cataloging the horse, or is it to say those horses came in with the actual slaughter horses? We don't know. We don't know. And then it's just clever marketing is what they do. It's clever marketing. Let me back up. This horse sold for $1,100 at auction. O'Dwyer sold it for $1,850. That horse, $1,200 at auction. They sold it for $1,900. $650 profit on this one, $700 profit on that one. Pretty big profit margins. When I asked them what the kill prices were in Mexico, they said, well, it fluctuates. Well, I understand it fluctuates, but you as a kill buyer and being somebody that's in the industry, you know what the prices are, what the market is. So they told me that a 1,000-pound horse brings 44 cents a pound right now. $440, okay? If the horse is heavier than 1,000 pounds, a 1,500-pound draft cross or a 2,000-pound draft, then they're gonna bring more than 44 cents a pound. And conversely, if it's a smaller horse, it's going to bring less than 44 cents a pound. But for the sake of argument, let's say that this horse, 400 pounds, is gonna bring 44 cents a pound. They send it down there to Florida, they send it down to Mexico. It's going to bring $176 at the kill pen. Well, they just paid $1,100 for it. You think they're going to take it to Mexico and sell it for $176? No, they're not. And they're not going to do the same with him, and they're not going to do the same with the other 14 foals that they bought. They were bought to be resold. Is there horses on O'Dwyer's website that do go to the kill pen? I'm sure of it. I've seen horses on there with cancer in their eye. I've seen horses in there with lame joints, frozen joints, can't walk but on 3 legs, is dragging the 4th leg. And those horses were probably bought as kill pen horses, but they were bought at kill pen prices. You figure a horse is going to go for 44 cents a pound. They're not going to pay 75 cents a pound for it. They got to buy it for 20 or 25 or 30 cents a pound to make money on it. So they got to buy it at below kill pen prices. We never see those horses. Those horses are in the back. They never make it on video. Okay? So it's clever marketing on their part to put a kill date on there, because it pulls on the heartstrings, and it triggers people to post stuff on video and post stuff onto Marketplace. And so the Amish didn't throw these away. Like I said, I talked with this man. This is Daniel Yoder. He's out of Montgomery, Indiana, and he didn't submit any registration paperwork with this horse to the auction because he said he doesn't register his colts. I called him and spoke with him. He is going to send me all the registration paperwork and all the transfer paperwork so I can get this registered with the Belgian Association. Belgian Association said we'd be more than glad to help you. Max over here, Mr. Wagler, out of Lagouti, Indiana, he did submit all of the paperwork to the auction, and that paperwork went with him, and that's what O'Dwyer had. So I don't have to do anything with him. All I got to do is fill it out and send it in and pay the fees. This guy was the owner, Mr. Wagler, was he's a member of the Belgian Association, so I only have to pay Belgian membership fees. Mr. Yoder over here, he was not a member of the Belgian Association, so I got to pay non-member fees to get him registered. So to transfer him, to register him and transfer him, it's going to cost me $70 because it's done under Mr. Wagler's registration. Mr. Yoder not being a member, you have to pay non-membership fees, so it's going to cost me $120 to get him registered and transferred. So why did the Amish get rid of them? Okay, the Amish are in the business of horses. That's what they do, right? So the majority of them have 8, 10, 12 horses. Well, they only want mares. If you go back and look at my Amish videos, because I go to Mount Hope, Ohio twice a year, and I stay with the Amish when I'm up there. And the Amish horses up there have got to pull double duty, like I told you. If you remember, I picked up Jewel and I picked up Becky, and they were both Amish horses. And they have to perform double duty, meaning they have to work 8 hours in the field every day, but they also have to be a mare so that they can be impregnated and give me a foal every year. If you can't perform double duty for me, we don't want you, and we send you down the road. These are colts. You only have one stallion on the farm. You can't have two. And they don't want a colt because it can only perform one of the two duties. It can work all day, but it can't give them a foal. So now I've got a foal, and I'm going to keep those mares so I can use them for brood mares, and I can use them to replace older stock that's moving on down the road. The colts, they just automatically go down the road. Well, once they get to weaning age, they'll hold on to them until the fall auction, and then they'll run them through the fall auction. They're not vetting the bidders. These auctions are open to the public, so anybody can go in there and purchase them, you included. So it just so happened that the agent that worked for O'Dwyer Horses went in there and bought 16 of them, and the majority of them were colts. Now, the older ones that were 17 to 19 years old, the life expectancy on these big horses is 15 to 20 years. They die routinely in their mid-teens. So the Amish, that's why those horses wound up in the auction, because they were old and they were getting rid of them. Can they, humanely put the animal down? Yeah, they can, but there's an expense to do that. You got to get the vet out there. You got to pay the vet for his farm call. Then you got to pay for the euthanization. Then you got a 17, 18, 2,000 pound animal that you got to dispose of. Got to dig a hole for it, incinerate it, whatever, and there's a cost and time associated with that. And so they run the horse through the auction, and they'll get a couple $100 for them. And now I got a couple $100 in my pocket, and I don't have an expense going out. So like it or hate it, condemn it or condone it, again, it's reality. And that's what, if you watch Horse Heroes Plus out of Hohenfels, Tennessee, Tawny Reisner up there and at her organization, they go to an auction and that they frequent, that they buy. That auction is really a kill pen auction, and those horses should have been put down by the owners, but those owners didn't have any business having the horse to begin with. And if they can't take care of the horse, you think they've got the money to put the horse down, so they run it through the auction. The kill pen buyers are buying them at below kill pen prices. And so Tawny and her husband go in there and they get them above kill pen prices. So if they can get them up to 75 cents a pound, the kill buyers back out because the kill buyers aren't going to make any money. So that's why Tawny goes in there and says, hey, if we can get them for 75 cents, then we can buy all of these horses. And that's why every week she buys, or every month rather, she buys 20, 25, 30, 35 horses, and then she immediately euthanizes the ones that should have already been put down. But it kept them from going to the kill pen, which is where they were going. And then there's auctions, sadly, that are closed to the public. They're only open to kill pen buyers. Where do those horses come from? I don't know. And then you've got Free Spirit Equestrian up in Michigan, and she does a lot of her videos at the auction, and she goes to all different kinds of auctions, but they're normally pretty good auctions that she goes to. But she explains to you what she's looking for and what to look for if you're going in there. She even teaches class. You can do a little live feed with her, and she'll teach you what to look for. But her videos are very informative on what to look for in a horse when you're going. She is not a rescue buyer, and she makes it perfectly clear that that's not my business model. It is a business model for several people, and there's a special place in heaven for them, because that being a horse rescue like that is a huge commitment, because the horses are sick and they're lame and they've got all kinds of medical conditions, and there's just all kinds of issues, and it's a huge expense and a huge time commitment, and you're married to the farm and you're never going on vacation, and you wind up with 25 or 30 horses, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But those horses need to be rescued instead of going to slaughter. But sadly, they go to slaughter, and that is reality. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do to stop it. You can, not politic, but you can protest with signs and all kinds of stuff. But, 5 or 6 people standing on the corner saying, stop the kill pens, it's not going to stop it. It's got to go to Congress. It's got to go. And like I said, these kill pens are in Mexico and they're in Canada. I think in 2022 was the last statistic I saw, and there was, and it's posted on the USDA website, there was over 43,000 horses exported to Mexico for slaughter, and there was over 18,000 exported to Canada for slaughter. And it's just reality. It's life. It's something that happens. It's no different than they've got a demand for it somewhere in the world, just like in our world, in the United States, there's a demand for cow, pig, and chicken. And you don't think twice about going into the grocery store and buying a pound of Hormel center cut bacon, and you don't think twice about buying a pound of ground chuck 80/20 and going home and making a hamburger, spaghetti, lasagna, or a BLT. And you don't think twice about buying a pound of chicken breast or chicken thighs. And I can promise you there's a lot more cows, a lot more pigs, and a lot more chickens that get slaughtered than the horses. But we romanticize with the horse. And so it's sad to us. And then there's people out there that are sad, but they don't put as much thought into the pig, the cow, and the chicken, because they grew up eating it since they came out of the womb, as they do with the horses that they romanticize with from their childhood. You drive past the cattle field and all the cattle are out there, and then you drive past them in the summer, and all of a sudden there's 15, 20 babies on the ground, and you're like, oh, look, there's cute babies, there's cute calves. And 3 months later, those calves are gone, but it doesn't register in your head that, hey, those calves are gone. Where'd those calves go? They went to auction. They're gone. Somebody else is raising them. And then 9 months later, there's no cows on the field, but it doesn't register in your brain. Oh, there's no cows on that field. Wow, he used to have cows. Well, guess what? They went to auction. So you don't protest that, but you protest that these horses. So that's all I'm saying, is just look at it don't look at through a jaded lens. Look through it from a realistic standpoint. And Bowie is a business, and they've got a business to run. But these boys right here were not purchased to be in the slaughter pipeline. They may give you the impression by putting slaughter date down there. Here's what I challenge you to do. Go back on Bowie Livestock, watch a horse, okay? Pick a horse out, watch a slaughter date. As soon as somebody hits buy it now, not bail it now, buy it now, that horse disappears. it's safe according to some people, but it was never saved. It was never going anywhere. It's been purchased by a new owner. Okay, just keep watching it. If it doesn't meet its kill date, guess what happens to that kill date? That kill date gets pushed to the right. Now all of a sudden his kill date is next Tuesday, not today. Okay, then what happens is if the horse doesn't move, they got $700 markup in this horse. They got $650 markup in this horse. They start dropping the price down if the horse doesn't move. And it just keeps getting dropped and keep dropped by $100 or $50. And eventually it's going to get into somebody's price range and somebody's going to buy it now. And then if the horse really doesn't move, then they do the real clever marketing and they put direct ship. Again, they never said what direct ship was. They never said anywhere on their website what direct ship is. But our head starts working and then somebody posts it on social media, and then it makes it onto YouTube. Oh my gosh, they're shipping this tomorrow. Where are they shipping it to? What does direct ship mean? Do we know? Direct ship could mean we're direct shipping it to the next auction to get our money back that we spent on it because nobody bought it, or attempt to get our money back. Sit down with the folks at O'Dwyer and talk to them from a realistic standpoint, not a sympathetic standpoint. I hope that makes sense. And we're going to geld these boys. They're 4 months old. He was born May the 9th and he was born May the 10th, coming from two totally different farms. So I think that's pretty cool. Jean and Grace were born 2 days apart on the same farm. But these guys come from totally different bloodlines. But normally the Amish don't go by hands, just because it doesn't mean anything to them. But they do know the weights. So when I talked to Mr. Yoder, he told me that his sire was 2,100 pounds and his mare was 1,700 pounds. So he thought that he would come in at about 1,900 pounds. Max over here, his side, Mr. Wagler, he did know the hands, so that the stallion was over 18 hands, which makes him 2,200 pounds. And the mare was 17.1 to 17.2, so the same size as Jean and Grace out here. So he's going to be a big boy too. He is a little light. You can see his ribs. See, he's still a little jumpy. You can see his ribs, and he's got his backbone. So I just got to keep the groceries to him. They're calming down. The reason they're in the tie stalls is because I had them in the box stall right here. I had them in the box stall, and I was trying to let them have room to walk around and lay down. And I put an automatic I put an automatic waterer in there. And when I put the automatic waterer in there, they knocked it over because they're babies. They knocked it off the wall and it flooded. It ran all night last night and this morning before I got out here, and it flooded the stalls, it flooded the barnyard, it flooded everything. It just made a complete mess. Ankle deep back over there in the back. The tie stalls were the only part of the barn that wasn't wet. So I brought them over here. They can lay down in here, don't worry. And I've got them tied up, and I fed them, I grained them, and I watered them. And he's gonna go pee now. Probably 2 gallons of pee there. But I did not want to, I'm going to untie them because just in the 24 hours they've calmed down. You saw Max jump when I touched him. He's still a little skittish and he looks at you with a wild eye, and it's more of a scared eye. But they, in the 24 hours that I've had them, they have really calmed down. And so I'm going to untie them, and I'm just going to let them walk around in the barnyard, and they can graze on the grass, and then they can come back in here and drink water. I don't want to leave them tied up in here all night. I only want them tied up when I'm in here. Trying to get their tags off their tails. Gonna go potty. Trying to get their tags off their tails. Normally, these are called hip tags. These are normally called, oh my gosh, scared me to death. Normally these are called hip tags, and they're glued to them right here. But for some reason, O'Dwyer puts them on the tail. And here's the last horse that I got. And in order to get them off, you gotta cut a lot of the hair off. Well, their tails are so short, I didn't want to cut them. So I have been spraying some citrus stuff on there to break the glue down, and I've got them about halfway off. I'm gonna have to keep spraying the citrus in there to break that glue, and comb it with the comb to get that glue out. Let me unhook these guys and just let them walk around, and I'll stay out here with them. I've got the electric fence on, and they've already found out what the electric fence is. But I didn't want them to be free in the barnyard because I don't want them running from me anytime I try to get them and bring them in here. But they got free this morning, and I was able to catch them pretty easily. But I would like to let them go so that they can graze a little bit, but they can lay down and go to sleep. They're just not comfortable laying down in here yet, but they'll get used to it. Okay, buddy. Jean and Grace will end up taking them in. When I brought Titus in earlier this morning, Max came right with him. So Jean and Grace, they follow me around like puppy dogs. They're my shadow. I really don't even have to put lead ropes on them to do anything. These little boys right here are just going to start following them wherever they go. These little babies are going to go. You see, they're already calm enough to, relaxed enough to start grazing. You see Max is relaxed because he's letting himself drop. It's just going to take a few days for them to get comfortable around me. You know, you figure they went to the Indiana auction last week. They got purchased. They got thrown on an 18-wheeler. They got driven to Texas. They got shoved in there. They stayed with their own people, you know, their own colts. But there was all kinds of other horses in there. On O'Dwyer's website, there's probably 35 or 40 horses on there that are for sale on the Buy It Now. But when you go to their actual yard, there was probably 150 horses there. And it's a huge facility. They could probably put 1,000 horses out there. And I think they got a little bit of a cough. I mean, I know they got a little bit of a cough from being there around all those other horses. You see Jean and Grace across in the other paddock over there, so they can't get to them because there's a fence separating them. There's actually a driveway separating them, so they're probably 20 feet in between them. So I won't introduce them today. I'll just let them walk around and get comfortable grazing out here. So I will stay out here with them for the rest of the day. And since everything is flooded, it's too wet to clean it up. So I will just get that addressed tomorrow. but I will continue to do hands-on and rubbing and petting. And Jean and Grace eat peppermints all the time, and if I go and have a bucket of food, those little babies will follow me with that bucket of food. I mean, they follow you like you got them hooked up to a lead rope. So I know I can get them real easily, but I'm going to teach them to eat peppermints as well, because once they're wed to a peppermint, they'll follow you to the end of the moon. So that's the update on the farm. I am super excited to have those new colts here. I am excited to, we got to get them to the vet. We got to get them vaccinated. We've got to find out about gelding them, because we're not going to leave them as stallions. Those other 3 are gone, thank goodness. So now Jean and Grace can calm down. We can get back to driving. They won't feel like they're getting attacked. And so because they get attacked, they're on edge all the time, and it's really hard to drive them because you put the blinders on them, and they don't like it. They don't like it at all. So a couple of 2-3 days without those girls around, they get introduced to these boys, and these boys are like, oh, well, this might be my mom, and they start hanging around with them. We're gonna get back to a smooth operation around here, and I'm just excited to be making videos on these boys, and excited that you're around to watch their journey. So I appreciate you watching this week, and remember who you are. Be kind to those around you. Stand up for what you believe in. Not afraid of me anymore. You know I'm not gonna hurt you, don't you, buddy?